Welcome to the six-week curriculum preview. Looks like we've made it. Great job. We have made it. Give yourself a round of applause for a great year. Let's just end it with a great big celebration. So let's begin to thinking about what do we need to do in reading in Unit 6. Well, we need to get them at a level T or higher. Really, it's so much better if you'll send them away in the summer and strong. So just continue to do the reading independently through the reading workshop. This 6 weeks, you're going to be doing research. So applying reading strategies to gather information and taking notes on research topic is an expectation that we have for our fourth graders. One of the things I want to just remind you of, the best way to know where your kids are is to do a running record or called a reading record. Let me explain the difference. A running record is when you take a book and you just take a piece of paper and you do check marks and you just mark on a piece of paper what the children are doing in their reading, and you're recording their reading behaviors. A reading record is where the text is provided for you, just like you see on the left. No matter what, a running record will, and as you look at the errors they make and then look at the meaning, the structure, and the visual about what processes they are using to read, will really tell you a lot and really help that next year teacher. So in conjunction with the end of the year testing, I really encourage you to do running reading records with your kids. You'll see to the right, there's called the reading process. This was designed by Jamie Smith. It gives you 3 grades. And as the students are doing the running record, reading record, then after they do that, you look at the effective strategies they did and the ineffective strategies they did. And then you take the number of effective strategy used and the number of strategies used in all, and then you get a percentage, and so that gives you a grade. All right, then of course the accuracy that you always know how to get when you do that gives you a grade. And then fluency is like 95 to 95% 100 on their fluency. Are they reading at a fluent rate? Are they using the expression? So this would be a great thing to really send home with that student at the end of the year. So if you need help with this, your academic coaches know how to do this, or you can contact me. I'd be more than happy to do it with you. All right, so once again, we still want them to complete 1 to 3 weekly reading responses using that reader's notebook to record their learning. And remember that you have a rubric that you can get a grade off of. And then you have your tic-tac-toe, which, you're not limited to that. It just kind of gives you an idea about what you need to do. If you're needing some help with reading responses, you can just shoot me an email, and I'll be glad to give you some other ways to do reading responses with your kids. And remember, you can get a grade for rubric independent reading. This time of year would be a great way for them to really think about their reading and what they're doing as an independent reader. English word study. So let's take a look at what we're going to be doing this 6 weeks in English word study. So week 32, 33, words with hard and soft C. So you're going to use the word work set 11, and then you're going to be working with looking at what's the pattern with hard and soft C, and then you have this spelling bee rule that goes in their notebooks. Week 34 is words ending in S and V, and the same thing you're going to do with that. Weeks 35, 36, review of previously learned spelling patterns and sight words. So take a look at the first 6 weeks, second, third, fourth. Here's some very important patterns that kids really need to know. So really taking a look at, do they have these in place and have they mastered them? Academic vocabulary, you're going to look and see that the academic vocabulary that goes with this unit are around the research, and very important that they understand words like plagiarism, paraphrasing, those types, citing. Those are some great academic vocabulary that are really going to help them in doing the research project. So let's look at reading for the 6 weeks. You're going to be researching and you're going to be gathering in sources, but still we must really know that they need to be independently reading. That is just a given, and you still will be meeting with them in small groups and really honing in on those skills. Poetry and research are our genre. That's what we're doing this 6 weeks. Poetry. April is National Poetry Month. So, as you're looking at poems, you might want to include how poets might use their research skills to create poems or research the history of a significance of poems of the past. But it is National Poetry Month, and I've given you a link here on the next slide. I'm showing you, I just took it right off National Poetry Month about different ways that you can celebrate poetry. So, if your kids, I know that you are really in STAR right now, but after STAR, if you really want to publish some poetry, I would be so happy to come out and celebrate with you. Maybe if you had to have a poetry week and you want to have a poetry celebration, I'd be more than happy to come out and celebrate that with you. But take a look at some of the different ways that you can celebrate poetry. So, and have your librarians help you as well. So, let's think about STAR because it's coming. All right, and I know you've done a great job getting there. So one of the things we want to think about is when we're getting them ready for STAR, we want to model the three kinds of thinking, okay? And maybe the note taking and independent reading. What kind of things do you see within the text? What did the author tell you about the story? What are some of the things beyond the text and what about the text? Because if you look at STAR, you can break down each question to these three types of thinking. So I would say to you that maybe to take a STAR release and take a look at what each question is asking. Is it within the text question, beyond the text question, or about the text? And I know you've given model mocks. Go back and look at what these kids have been doing. Where are they? Where is it? What you'll find sometimes is your gifted kids miss the most of within the text because they're skimming, because they read so fast. So that's a great thing to do. Freeze time at least once a week. Color code one or two paragraphs to determine how the writer uses freeze time. How did that writer take a look at that? Will help them to slow down and look at what authors do. And even on the start, the passages, to slow down and really read about what did that author of that um, of that passage want them to know. So using the three-box plan with the passage is a great way to get them to slow down and read it and try to figure out what's the heart of this. Because we always ask, what is the author's purpose in writing this is one of the things. So walking the boundaries and doing this, it will help them create a best summary. And that is one of the things they have such a hard time with. And I really suggest that this is a great activity to do with kids. So let's take a look at what we could do with the comprehension toolkit. I know you might have used all of them, but man, the comprehension toolkit is never just meant to one lesson done. It is a rinse and repeat kind of thing. So using context clues to unpack vocabulary. So lesson 10, infer meaning. This is amazing. This is a great thing. So take a look at this. This is the response that you could do. The word, what's the text clues, what's the inferred meaning, and then what's the actual meaning. But doing this activity with kids and then having them do that in their independent reading would be huge. Another thing that's in the comprehension toolkit is lesson 15. Use text features to infer themes. Okay, wrap your mind around the big ideas is the lesson title. So the evidence in the text and what's the theme. So doing some focus lessons with this and then letting the kids go off and do this with their own. Some of the alternative mentor texts that go with this particular lesson: A Voice of Her Own, The Story of Phyllis Wheatley, Slave Poet by Catherine Lasky. It's a great one if you have that. But there's so many resources in your comprehension toolkit to use with this particular lesson. Summarize and synthesize. The comprehension toolkit, lesson 26. The whole summarize and synthesize lessons, all that whole book would be great if you haven't done that. But lesson 26 really talks about how to create a summary response. And the lesson goes in, it's the comebacks, and we're humpbacks. It came out of the keep reading, which is in the comprehension toolkit. So, but there's other lessons that you can do this. What I will do is I will add lesson 15, 10, 15, and 26. I will add the guide lessons on in Canvas beside the PowerPoint for you to see that you could use all different kinds of articles. But these lessons will just be so rich and help your kids with their thinking. So then we're off to research. I get so excited when I talk about this. So this is the time where social studies and ELAR really always come together anyway, but they're really coming together. And I really want you to use your social studies Unit 12, Texas in the Modern Age, to do your research. Or you could use your science as well if you teach science. But this is a perfect opportunity. And I know Dawn in her curriculum previews is going through and making sure that she highlights each reading A to Z, learning reading A to Z book that goes along, so you could really pull in, and these kids could have small group time with the books that she has. So make sure you look at her curriculum preview. So in Birdville, we use the Big Six, and your librarians know all about it if you don't know. And so there's 6 different processes to the research process. Big Six. One is task, answering the question. 2, information. How do I gather the information? 3 is location and access. Okay, so then number 4 is, how do I use this information? How do I use it? What do I do with it? And then after gathering the information, how do I look at it and pull it together and show what I know? And then that last piece, which is always important, is the evaluation piece. I have a link here about how you get started, but remember, your librarian is your best friend. So the first one, Big Six 1, is creating questions. Well, with your social studies guided questions, you don't have to really generate any questions for research. What are the functions of each branch of state government? What is the role of a citizen? How can a person become a citizen? What leadership qualities are important in state and local leaders? What are industry clusters, and how are they impacted by geography? Those are just a few of those that are mentioned in the unit overview. So the research starts with the questions that need to be answered, and these are some great questions to start with. And then it's about locating the information seeking strategies, and then location and access. So Dawn has given you several different links in her to finding all the information. Also, she's given you some of the readers that you can find information from. Your Pearson book can give you, and your librarian. Once students know what research they're going to do, then have your librarian have them partner with them to figure out what are some other resources that I can use to really answer my question. Then writing. So the writing piece is research, organizing, and presenting ideas as your lead standard. So let's organize these things. Excuse me. Students organize and present their ideas and information according to the purpose of the research and their audience. They're expected to draw a conclusion through a brief written explanation and create a works-cited page for notes, including the author, title, publisher, and publication year of each source used. So that is your standard for teaching them how to do that, and your librarian is a great person with this. And this is part of the publishing. They're going to be publishing. And so also you want to make sure that these kids are really at a 9 is where we ask them to be, but really strong 10, 11 going in. And I know that we've worked really hard to get them there. And thank you for that. Thank you for all your good writing work with them this year. We really do want them to write cursive greater than 90% of the time. We really want them using that. That is a BIC expectation. And then historical periods. What do you capitalize? Those are very important. So in part of the writing process is that note taking and how to take simple notes and organize them into a different way. And I've given you one that I found, data chart for note taking. There's just lots of different ways for them to do that. They could, I think note cards are a little bit too hard for kids to do. So I used to just take a piece of paper and divide it into 6 or 7 different blocks. And the question would be at the top. And then as they use their sources, they would write the information, and that's where you actually have to teach them that you do not copy the words of the researcher, but you are able. Here's where that academic vocabulary comes in, is you're teaching them to paraphrase what they said, because if you copy it, it's plagiarism. So we need to begin to put that into their mind and use those words, and then teaching them correctly how to cite those sources. So that's your note taking and synthesizing is part of that writing process. So during the 6 weeks, much of it will related to the research project. So you can still use the 3-box planner to organize their ideas and freeze time to develop those paragraphs, and stop to be able to see if they are using all the conventions and if they're telling enough, all those things. One of the things that you are in your standards this 6 weeks is persuasive writing, and what a great opportunity to have them write to persuade someone. So what you would need to do is really discuss the purpose of why we would need to know persuasive writing, and then to know the structure of it, what it looks like. and then show them examples of great persuasive writings that students have done for a cause. Then brainstorm ideas to write about, things that relate to them, maybe things that are in their community that they want to change, or in the school that they want to change, or it could be just as simple as something that they want to bring up at home. Maybe they need to raise their allowance, and why would they need to do that? Or they might want a new puppy. Why would they do that? So make it very relevant to their lives. Now, as we're doing focused lessons, part of the writing process with research is the gathering information, synthesizing it, and then writing about it and citing. So it looks like you're going to take simple notes, and then you identify the author, the title, the publisher, and the publication, and then you differentiate between paraphrasing and plagiarism. Very important. That is such a vital thing. So there may need just to be one focused lesson, or maybe several, that you show them how, when you read a source, how you don't just copy that, you paraphrase, and you put it in your own words. So that's really one of the things as you are writing. That's a big piece of research. So once again, they have to synthesize all these things. They clarify. They're expected to focus the research. Not only can they use books, they can use local experts on the topic. If there is someone that knows a lot about their topic, or maybe you could ask the librarians to look into that. Who are some expert people that we could use? So you want to find the best type of researches and credible sources for them to use. So now, as they gather all of it and they've written about it, I think it is important that they have a written explanation and a works cited page, and that includes all those things that we talked about. But the other thing that I think is so important is let them display their knowledge in different ways. Like you see some things on the bottom of this slide. Your digital learning specialists are absolutely amazing at this, to show you other ways, but let them video about what they've learned, make an iMovie about what they've learned, post a blog post. There's just lots of different things, but Google Slides, or even create a presentation in Google Slides. So I really look forward to what your research is going to look like. So the last thing is, we always want to give that spot to the digital learning team that's out there doing an amazing job. You might want to use Google Slides to do research. These are fourth graders. This might be a new and different way for them to gather their resources. So you can watch this video, and it talks about how you use Google Slides with organizing research with Google Slides and things like that. So just an opportunity. So thank you so much for a great year. Let us know how we can help you with research. I just appreciate everything that you do, and I hope you have a great summer.